Something completely unexpected happened on live television, and for a moment, the entire studio seemed to forget how to breathe. The lights were bright, the cameras were rolling, and everything looked perfectly normal. But then, in a split second, emotion took over, and nothing felt scripted anymore. Bradley Walsh has always been known as the man who brings warmth into every room. The smile, the quick wit, the playful jokes, and that unmistakable charm that makes audiences feel like they're sitting right beside him, not watching from miles away. For years, he's been the familiar face people trust to lift their mood after a long day. But this time, something deeper surfaced. As the conversation continued, there was a noticeable pause, not the awkward kind, more like the kind that makes your heart lean forward. Bradley tried to speak, but his voice softened. The laughter faded, the jokes paused, and suddenly viewers realized they weren't just watching a show anymore. They were witnessing a very human moment. It wasn't sadness alone, it was something layered. Gratitude mixed with reflection, love mixed with vulnerability, the kind of emotion that sneaks up on you when you least expect it, especially when you're surrounded by people who feel like family. Bradley smiled, the kind of smile that tries to hide everything, but his eyes told a different story. They sparkled, not with comedy this time, but with memory. You could almost feel him traveling through moments in his mind, years of laughter, long studio days, late rehearsals, shared jokes, quiet encouragement, and bonds built behind the scenes where cameras never go. And then it happened. He took a breath. The room went quiet, not because anyone was told to be silent, but because everyone felt it. Even through a screen, viewers could sense that something real was unfolding. Bradley has always had a way of connecting with people, not by trying too hard, but by simply being himself. That's what made this moment so powerful. There was no performance, no script, just honesty. He spoke about how much the journey has meant to him, about how laughter can sometimes carry hidden weight, about how standing under studio lights doesn't make you immune to emotion, it sometimes amplifies it. His words were gentle, heartfelt, and delivered with that signature warmth that makes people feel understood. At one point, he laughed softly at himself, brushing off the emotion with a joke that made the audience smile through their surprise. That's Bradley. Even in vulnerability, he finds a way to comfort everyone else in the room. The reaction was instant. Social media lit up with messages from viewers who felt like they had just shared a private moment with someone they've admired for years. People weren't shocked in a dramatic way. They were moved. They felt closer. They felt reminded that even the most confident faces on television carry stories, memories, and emotions just like everyone else. What made this moment even special was the support around him. Fellow presenters offered quiet smiles, nods, and gentle humor. No one rushed him. No one tried to change the mood. They let the moment exist, and that respect made it even more meaningful. There was a softness in the air, balanced beautifully with light-hearted moments that followed. Bradley wiped his eyes, laughed again, and joked about needing a cup of tea and a lie-down. The studio laughed with him, not at him. It was affectionate, warm, and full of understanding. And that's where the romance of the moment comes in. Not romantic in the traditional sense, but romantic in the way humans connect. The love between colleagues, the love between a presenter and the audience, the kind of love built on years of shared mornings, shared laughter, and shared trust. Viewers at home found themselves smiling, some even laughing through misty eyes. It wasn't heartbreaking in a dark way, it was touching in a beautiful way. A reminder that emotion doesn't weaken a moment, it strengthens it. Bradley's honesty turned a regular broadcast into something unforgettable. It reminded people why they fell in love with live television in the first place, because anything can happen, because real emotions can't be edited out, because sometimes the most powerful moments are the unplanned ones. As the show continued, the energy slowly lifted again. Jokes returned, smiles widened, but something had shifted. There was a deeper connection now, like a quiet agreement between everyone watching that they had shared something special. Fans later described the moment as comforting, inspiring, and strangely joyful, not because someone showed emotion, but because it felt brave, because it showed that success doesn't mean shutting feelings away. It means embracing them, even when the cameras are rolling. Bradley Walsh didn't lose control on live TV. He showed control of something far more important, his authenticity. And that's why viewers didn't turn away, they leaned in. This wasn't a breakdown, it was a breakthrough. A reminder that laughter and emotion can live side by side, that joy doesn't cancel vulnerability, that being real is more powerful than being perfect. By the end of the broadcast, Bradley was back to his usual self, smiling, joking, charming the room. But for those watching, the memory lingered. Because once you see someone you admire in a moment of pure honesty, you never forget it. Moments like this don't happen often, and when they do, they ripple far beyond the studio walls. They travel through screens, into living rooms, onto phones, and straight into hearts. If this moment moved you, made you smile, or reminded you of the beauty of being human, then you're not alone. These are the moments that bring people together, even when they're miles apart. Stay open to them, share them, and never forget, sometimes the most shocking moments on live TV are also the most
didn't
beautiful.
end when the cameras faded or when the studio lights dimmed. In many ways, that moment was only the beginning. After the broadcast wrapped, people kept talking. Not loudly, not dramatically, but softly, the way you talk about something that touched you more than you expected. Crew members exchanged knowing smiles. Some laughed, some shook their heads gently, as if to say, only Bradley could do that and make it feel so natural. Bradley himself seemed lighter afterward, like someone who had carried a full heart all day and finally let it breathe. He joked with the team, teased himself about becoming too emotional for daytime television, and promised he'd behave next time. Everyone laughed because they all knew this was exactly why people loved him. What made the moment unforgettable wasn't the surprise, it was the sincerity. In a world full of polished performances and carefully chosen words, this felt refreshingly real. No filters, no rehearsals, just a man who has given years of his life to making others smile, briefly allowing himself to feel everything he usually turns into laughter. At home, viewers replayed the clip again and again, not because it was shocking, but because it was comforting. Many said it felt like watching a close friend open up. Others joked that Bradley had made it acceptable to laugh and cry before breakfast. And of course, humor followed. Fans teased him lovingly online, saying things like, "Someone get this man a hug and a cup of tea," or "Only Bradley Walsh could make emotions feel so charming." Even the jokes were gentle, filled with affection rather than mockery. There's something quietly romantic about moments like this, not in grand gestures or dramatic speeches, but in honesty, in being seen exactly as you are in front of millions and being met with warmth instead of judgment. Bradley's career has always been built on connection. He doesn't talk at people, he talks with them. That's why this moment landed so deeply. It felt like an unspoken conversation between him and everyone watching. And let's be honest, there was something slightly funny about it too. The way he tried to laugh it off, the way he half apologized, half joked, as if emotion were an uninvited guest who showed up early. That balance between humor and feeling is his magic. Later, people described the moment as unexpectedly joyful, not because it was light, but because it was sincere. It reminded people that vulnerability doesn't steal confidence, it adds depth to it. This wasn't about drama, it wasn't about headlines, it was about presence, about being in the moment so fully that emotion had no choice but to show up. And maybe that's why it resonated so widely. Everyone has had that feeling, that sudden swell of emotion when you least expect it, when a memory, a person, or a simple realization hits your heart before your mind can stop it. Bradley gave people permission to feel that, to not hide it, to smile through it. As days passed, the moment didn't fade, it softened. It became one of those stories people bring up with a smile, saying, "Do you remember when that happened?" Not with shock, but with warmth. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't a story about television. It was a story about being human, about connection, about laughter living right next to emotion without either one needing to leave. And that's the beauty of live moments. They don't just entertain, they remind us who we are. If this story made you smile, if it made you feel closer to the people you watch every day, or if it simply reminded you that it's okay to feel deeply, then it did exactly what it was meant to do. Some moments fade as soon as the screen goes dark. Others stay with you. This was one of the ones that stayed. And sometimes, those are the moments we need the most.